Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
And therefore that ought to guide the way that you order your steps. So in view of that, Presidency does not believe that any further action ought to be taken beyond the apology and the caution. And we all take a cue from it and are going to do better in order to meet the expectations of the Ghanaian public. We value feedback. We are aware that Ghanaians expect high standards in the performance of our duties as public officials. We remain committed to meeting those high standards to ensure that we deliver the best of governance to our people who have been long suffering in the last few years under poor governance. So that is what I have for you. It is not deemed at this moment necessary to take further action beyond what has already been done. And Mr. Samidi has committed to ensuring that such an incident does not recur. I thank you very much.
On my second coming, we messed up energy sector with debts of almost 2.5 billion owed to independent power producers, to gas suppliers and everybody. And so what the previous government started it, but we're continuing it. They've been trying to renegotiate the debt and then see how we can ring fence it. We have some strategies for dealing with it. And I'm sure that by the end of the year, early next year, we should be able to make everybody happy, in terms of, dealing with that debt. We need to clean the slate, but in cleaning that slate, we must look at the whole value chain, because a lot of the problem is coming from downstream, the distribution end, because of the state-owned utility. ECG is not as efficient in collecting revenue. We are experiencing technical and commercial losses of about 40%. And I think it's only a state-owned enterprise that can survive when you're losing 40% of your revenue. And so we are going into the phase of private sector participation in the billing and metering to bring private sector efficiency in the revenue collection so that we can pay for the power we take from the independent power producers.
Speaking at a press conference at the National Security Secretariat in Accra, Media Relations Officer for the Ghana Gold Board, Prince Minka, disclosed that a total of 6 suspects were apprehended in 2 separate operations. According to him, the first batch of 3 suspects were arrested at Adiembra in the Ashanti region before the enforcement of the Ghana Gold Board Act 2025, Act 1140. Mr. Minka said these individuals will be deported since their arrest occurred before the April 30th deadline for foreigners to exit Ghana's local gold trade.
The 3 Indians who were arrested and subsequently arraigned before court for flouting what was supposed to be our rules of engagement in terms of the local gold trading industry, because their arrest did not occur at the time where we had issued the deadline, they won't be allowed to go back to their home, as in their country.
Prince Minka further indicated that the second batch of 3 suspects were arrested at Inyinam in the eastern region after the new law took effect. These individuals, he said, will face prosecution under the new law, which reserves local gold trading exclusively for the Gold Board. Mr. Minka stressed that the Ghana Gold Board Act strictly prohibits foreign nationals from participating in Ghana's local gold trade.
But the 3, and the 3, those who were arrested, as you can see behind me, they were the first group. The arrest occurred before the 30th of April. I remember at that time, it was not the deadline. So the arrest occurred before the deadline. And because of that, they've been allowed to go back to their country of origin and reunite with their family. But for the latest bust which has occurred, For them, they will face the full rigors of the law.
National Security Coordinator, DCOP Abdul Osman, also told journalists that Ghanaians were involved in the illegal gold trading. According to him, these foreigners use the identities of Ghanaians to register their companies in order to evade taxes and hide their faces. DCOP Osman assured that Ghanaians involved will also be dealt with according to the law.
Of course, Ghanaian traders are involved. Some of them, we found out that the Indians use them to register companies, and they hide behind these Ghanaians to operate. They do that to evade taxes and also hide their faces behind whatever that they are doing. And so the Ghanaians are also being dealt with in a way. But because the Indians or the foreigners are the main financiers of this activity, that's how come that we are showing their faces. Of course, the Ghanaians too are being dealt with.
The Ghana Gold Board Act 2025 was introduced to regulate gold trading and curb illegal exports. Foreigners were given until April 30th to exit the local gold market with strict penalties for violators. The 3 deportees, all Indian nationals, will be sent back to their country. The remaining 3 will be prosecuted with their confiscated assets held as evidence. Authorities have vowed to intensify surveillance to prevent further smuggling attempts.
Today we are inaugurating 2 main committees. The technical committee, which would do the day-to-day activity, but we have a steering committee which has strategic oversight in respect of this whole project and is co-chaired by the Minister of Energy and Green Transition and the Minister of Finance, and the membership includes the Attorney General, Minister of Communication, and the project coordinator. So these 5 people constitute the steering committee. But today what we're doing is to inaugurate the technical committee, which will be responsible for the day-to-day operations as far as achieving this project is concerned. And the technical committee will have the Deputy Minister for Energy chairing it, construct a second gas processing plant. Indeed, since the establishment and commissioning of the first gas processing plant at Atuabo, there hasn't been much investment in our gas sector. There has not been any additional gas processing plant, neither have we increased the pipeline from Ghana Gas's perspective. Indeed, today I had a meeting with the Honorable Minister of Finance, and it turned out that the liquid fuel requirement alone for this year for our thermal plants exceeds $1 billion. That is, if we buy distillate fuel, light crude oil, HFO, it takes us to around 1 billion. That is not sustainable. But the catch is that the liquid fuel currently is not part of the tariff structure. And so, even as all of us agree that the cost of electricity hits our pockets, the truth is that that 1 billion is not reflected in the current tariff structure. Demand is projected to increase by about 300 megawatts every year. And so next year, your guess is as good as mine. So something ought to be done urgently to address this situation. Aside that, the gas processing plant is estimated to generate about 1,500 direct and indirect jobs. And so this plant should have been constructed like yesterday.
Car Power has just sent us a letter that by 18th, they will shut down the plant because we owe them more than $400 million. IPPs alone, we owe them
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land.
Good morning and thank you very much. This is Pan-African Television, and of course we are live on Radio Gold. We are broadcasting live from the studios of Pan-African Television in Abelenke. We are live on social media, Pan-African Television on Facebook, Pan-African Television on YouTube. If you join us through any of those channels, do the comment section and share what your thoughts are on the discussions we'll be having. I am Senna Nombo on behalf of the crew here, the crew at Radio Gold, and across the country, many other affiliate radio stations. We want to say a big thank you to you for making time to join us on this show today. This morning, we're having a discussion on the matter of the Ghanaian cedi. Well, this week, the Bank of Ghana issued a statement. It was simple, that on July 19, we will be marking 60 years of the cedi as our sole legal tender. Now, this is interesting and comes at a time when there's a lot of talk about the relative strength of the cedi against all the major trading currency. There are different explanations that have been given as to why that is the case. So we'll spend some time and talk about the matter of the cedi and its performance against its major currency. How sustainable is it? Then we'll also talk about a matter that was addressed by the presidency this week. It was, so when we were here on Saturday, I guess those events were happening. When we left here, the video was trending about Sami Jemfiu, CEO of the Gold Board, actually giving some money to this famous socialite known as Agrada. It was in dollars, attracted a lot of backlash. The presidency summoned him, and the president then decided that he's apologized to the presidency officially. They've cautioned him, but they decided that they will leave it at the caution. They will not take any further steps. The minority is dissatisfied, so they've decided to take this matter to Shraj. So we'll spend some time on it, and then we'll conclude with what has been called a vacuum for at least a day, when the president was in Togo, was in Abidjan, Parliament was not in session, and you know the vice president has been seeking some medical attention for some time. The president tells us she will be in town next week. There were questions about whether there was not a power vacuum because of the absence of the president, the vice president, speaker was not available, and the fact that the CJ had not been sworn in. So we'll talk about the implications of that, because the minority was even threatening impeachment with their 88 in Parliament. Well, so that will conclude our discussion for today. And joining me in the studio for this discussion today, always nice to see him on a Saturday morning. I know it's not easy for member of Parliament at this time, especially for his particular longer running.
Yes.
But I think what you were trying to refer to was the gold purchase program that was being done by the Bank of Ghana. I think now they are reverting to the gold for oil.
All that I was establishing to siphon money from this country. Give birth to the gold. It was a fraudulent thing. It was a fraudulent thing.
No. But if we have said this is the matter about talk shows, Alagi. And of course, we are live from the studios of Pan-African Television. We are discussing the matter of the cedi's performance against the dollar, whether it is sustainable. I'll take the thoughts of lawyer Andrew Appiah Dankwa before I go to Nia Boyanan. Lawyer.
Yeah, so let me wish you a good morning. It's always a pleasure to be in my. He doesn't like to be called honorable. I call him honorable. Honorable's company. I haven't seen that done in a while. I was hoping that today at least he will change from white to off-white. But I see he's very faithful to the white. Maybe he balanced it with the black. So.
I know guys like white.
Everybody likes white.
But for them, they are traditional.
So at my house, we are supposed to only wear white.
It was just
even with funerals.
You wear white.
We wear white.
Why are you supposed to wear only white?
We are like from a house of rabbis.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. It's just,
white is good.
One man tried to bastardize white, otherwise white. That'll be another discussion. That'll be a discussion at the end. So don't worry, no law issues. We talk everything. And wish your lovely viewers a good morning. I think we are excited, myself included. In fact, I think it was just about the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks when I realized that the dollar was. So I went to Kumasi, and then an auntie of mine, who is a businesswoman, she's in Germany, gave orders that they should go and sell all her euros, no, not dollar, all her euros. Otherwise, she's going to lose money. Then I was like, what's happening? So why are you not aware of what is happening? So I went to check. I think it was a week or two ago. I realized that, and happily so, that the dollar had dropped to 14 point something. So from that side, following the trajectory. And then surprised, I started hearing a whole lot of reasons why. That one, because of the gold purchase program, which began in, I think, May of last year, and still ongoing. Because of that, the dollar is reducing. And then my question was, for a program that started from May, if it was solely the reason, at least we should have seen some significant depreciation or appreciation of the Cedi before His Excellency John Mahama took over. Then mention was made of the US-China trade war. So I want to check that also. I realized that since the beginning of the year, the US dollar has depreciated up to about 5.1%. So I quickly calculated the rate of appreciation of the Cedi. And I realized that the US dollar has depreciated 15.1% against the Cedi. And so there's a clear difference of about 10. Then for me, what you told me was that it couldn't just have been the US-China trade war. Also, I quickly then checked the performance of the Cedi against the euro, and because if it was just the US, then it shouldn't be doing so well against the euro, against the pound. And I realized that also against the euro, against the pound, it's doing well. And so the issue is, the argument that is because of the so-called trade war or the overall depreciation of the Cedi or the dollar globally cannot be the reason. Because in any case, just in Ghana, the dollar has depreciated by 15.1%. That is 10 points. So then for me, sitting down, I recalled that last year, in most of our communication here, we all accepted, or I made a point, that what was at stake in the 2024 election was for us to restore confidence in the economy. You understand? Because of the terrible leadership or non-leadership of the previous government, we've gotten to stages where even basic principles in economics, I'm sure the Don will do a better job at that, he's a technical guy, basic, very, very fundamental principles that the economy 101, that the best place to, the most secured place to place your money, to loan your money, was government. And in Ghana, even that basic principle had been breached by the DIP, where monies that people had given to the government in belief that that was the safest place to place their monies, had been breached, thereby killing the confidence the people of Ghana had in the economy. Because we need to understand that when it comes to the management of the economy, it's a confidence game. If your people lose confidence in your ability to manage your economy, the economy is gone. It's also important to put into perspective the fact that between 2016 and 2024, FDIs, foreign direct investments, reduced from almost $3 billion to about $600 million. So by the time Joanna was taking over, FDIs were around just about $600 million. You had the cocoa sector, which was practically dead. Because we all know that when the dollar is depreciating, you hear people say, oh, we are waiting for the syndication, about 2.1 billion. Last, I don't know whether any syndication was done. The confidence was so low that cocoa production had reduced drastically. Also, between January 7th and now, I don't think local production can be so significant as to also impact this radical appreciation of the Cedi against the dollar. So the question is that what has happened? You understand? For me, I think when I analyze it, it reaffirms my belief in the very negative leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo. It's sad that the NPP is blamed because they also play their role. As a party, they sat down and allowed Nana Addo to deliver a leadership which, for all intents and purposes, is very parochial in nature. Their focus was not, or did not do things that was in the best interest of the country per se. They are following their personal agenda. And it's sad that today Mutala will sit here and say that the New Patriotic Party were fraudulent when they use the name patriotic. But that argument can be supported when you consider just the last 8 years. And it's sad that the party sat down and allowed such parochial leadership. Because when you consider intently why the Cedi is appreciating, I think essentially my view is about the ingenuity by governments to create confidence in the economy by just some few statements. That statement that, listen, going forward, buffer stock, school feeding, or purchase locally produced products. What that did immediately was, without increasing production of anything, to reduce the demand on the dollar. Immediately. You reduce demand on the dollar. And it sent a signal. Well, I said, this is a confidence game. It sent a very positive signal that, listen, we are not going to, more or less, at least for that sector, depend on importation. So if you are holding dollar, or if you are going, that burden was taken away. Very, very smart. Now, also, if you consider that sometime in November, that's the Bank of Ghana, because see, when I always say the dawn is here, so you do a far better job. But when you define the economy in very basic terms, the state of every country in terms of its production and consumption of goods and services and the supply of money, and we know that the role that every government plays in every economy is one in terms of its fiscal policy, which the government itself does, as in the president through his finance minister, and monetary policy. And the monetary policy is done by the Bank of Ghana. So beyond the gold purchasing program, which really has led to the, I think between May to now, that there has been an increment from about between 22 tons to about 31 tons. Certainly that has helped. But also in November, I think Bank of Ghana brought a policy that restricted investments by pension funds into offshore accounts, into offshore markets. I think that policy has been maintained, and so, like I said, this government, having analyzed the issues, have discarded off with programs which were not beneficial to the state, and have maintained, indeed, have even enhanced those that were beneficial. You understand? And that's why when you are making the analysis, it boils down to leadership. Or it boils down to leadership that has the interest of the country at heart. Because whereas what was pushing one leader, you understand? And I hope the NPP will find a way of dealing with that issue. Because if you ask me, I think it's so, in a way, the party has to be blamed, but it's quite unfair that the party will have to take flak for a group of people's bad leadership. Because clearly you have one leader who, for now at least, over the past few months, 5 months in power, I can confidently say that they are pursuing programs that, in my view, are in the best interest of the country. You understand? And for 8 years, we were under a leadership that was fueled by what was in their personal best interest. And so we are seeing this improvement in the performance of the Cedi, not because there has been any, in my view, because within 4 or 5 years is a very short time, because already, in fact, I don't think the 24-hour economy and its benefits has even kicked in, because so far as I'm concerned, they are still putting together the framework. But this clear evidence of what can happen by a president giving proper leadership that builds the confidence of the people in the economy. Because over the past few years, people actually, I know people who, when they got their money, deliberately purchased dollar because they didn't trust in the city. They didn't trust in the city. So if after just 5 months, people are dumping their foreign exchange on the market, they rather have the city. Then we cannot take it for granted that it's a matter of luck. Clearly, people are responding to a better leadership. The market is responding. You understand? And so, if by just the provision of proper leadership, without necessarily increasing local productivity and all, can cause the city to respond in this manner, then we should be really angry at Nado for the terrible leadership they gave us. And we should commend the president, clearly, because in my opinion, and like I'll say it again, I was saying it, maybe I'm sure we'll be bored. I know they don't, as you can see, you scribble something, but you go into the technicalities. Yeah, I see you scribble so many things here. You understand? But when some people say that leadership, everything's about leadership, and we are seeing clear evidence of saying. Because when you listen to Mutala from government, he didn't come and say that, oh, we've increased the production of poultry by this. We have increased the production of rice by this. But what he said clearly, and I think it's something we should pay attention to, that from President Kofo's time up until when they left power in 2016, we're spending closely averagely around $500 million on the potential of just rice and poultry. Now that rose to about 3 billion. I don't think it has reduced drastically, because 5 months is too short a time to have a radical or a seismic reversion back to what it used to be. So if even without that, the Cedi has managed to rise up to about 15.1%. And just imagine what can happen where their campaign promise of bringing in place policies that one will reduce our dependency on the exportation of chicken, on the importation of rice can do. So I think it can maintain. I'm very hopeful. I hope it can maintain, because what it tells me is that whatever they are doing that is causing the city to gain strength, they must not change. In terms of whatever they are doing to cause people to be confident in the economy, they must not stop doing that. Also, the technical policies, like I mentioned, that policy to put some kind of to put restrictions on fund managers in investing in offshore, it should be maintained. The gold purchasing program, it should be increased, and the fiscal. Now they have undertaken a fiscal consolidation program also. All of these are the reasons why the city seems to be gaining strength. It means that indeed even the depreciation was probably artificial, because of bad leadership, terrible leadership. That's why the city was at some point around October, it was around 17 cedi. It went as low as 17.7 or so. So if within a space of about 7 months, it can rebound, not because we've increased productivity or anything, but because of the signal that has been given. That one, we are not going to import rice for feeding our schools. Buffer stock is not going to import rice. We are going to purchase locally made rice. If that reduction by just word, by just policy, can reduce demand, the pressure on the dollar, then they should maintain that. And if they're able to maintain that, because the question is, how do you sustain this? To sustain this is one, by just maintaining what you are doing, that is causing a rebuild of the confidence of the people of this country in there. Because my brother here mentioned speculation, 100%. So it means that when the Cedi got to 17 cities, 17.7, clearly the people of Ghana didn't have confidence in their own currency anymore.
People were changing more.
Yeah, so they rather store, what's it called, dollars, and you hold it. But so the increasing the demand and reducing the supply. Already the supply was slow because people, anytime they so I'll just tax the president. One, he needs to indeed enhance what they are doing that is causing confidence to be built in the economy of this country. You understand? Now, having done that, then they must deliberately also undertake policies that will substitute, that will cause us to produce, and by so doing substitute the kind of things we import. So one, if we are spending around 3 billion on rice and on poultry, then clearly there must be clear policies that will increase the production of these two commodities. They must do that. They must also tackle the SME side, deliberately build the small and medium scale enterprises. Because I believe strongly that, at least from what I've seen, that if we do the right things, maybe we can cause the dollar to even come into single digits. It's not the inflation that will come to single digit. Okay. The dollar to come to single digit. And so for me, I think if there's a time to call for us to sing from the same hymn sheet, irrespective of your party, because all these negative noises, and they will feel, and we don't need what's called rough land, and it doesn't help any of us. Because you can see the price of fuel dropping, not just because of this dollar issue. You can see, so it is in our collective interest that the economy does well. And like Bamia said, and he rightly said, that you can do all the propaganda you want. If your exchange rate is, when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. So if you go by that his principle, that means that the exchange rate, which is doing better, is reflective of the entire health of our economy. So I think, and my brother here, I know I've been in this party before, the party as it is now. I know when he comes and he praises the situation, don't be too happy with him. But at least he tried to balance the act. So he prays some more, but you also point some more. You understand? We are so that at least the party, the Hawks, won't come after him. They don't myself were there before, so we understand you. But we are just in 2025. Yes, we are in 2025. So there's time when you play partisan politics, and there's time when you build. And to build is not just the duty of the party in power to build. It's all of our duty as Ghanaians to build this country. So if we have correct leadership, it's clearly showing the way, then I think it's just wise that we all lend our support, we all lend our energies in that effort to build the country. Because, like I said, I'm going to reiterate it, that in my opinion, this massive performance of the Cedi so far is just because of leadership in rebuilding confidence. But it shouldn't stop there. We must now put in place the building blocks that will enhance our productivity, that will put us in a place where we can sustainably have inflows of this foreign what's called exchange. You understand? To further drive down the Cedi, to build that strong economy where all of our individual ambitions can find place in. And to do that, the president should continue providing the way, he should continue giving the right policies, as in he can borrow from our great, already we have given him a copy, the great transformational plan. As I mentioned SME, as in deliberately aiding SMEs, enhancing or creating a system where we can have real growth. Once we all do that, then I believe that not only are we going to sustain this, we are going to bring the dollar down further for all of our benefits. So I think for me, it's an appropriate time to call on all Ghanaians. Let's come together. Let's sing from the same hymn sheet. Let's build our country, and let's create a situation where Ghana will be in the best position to reclaim its place as the Black Star of Africa.
Thank you very much. And so far, there's been limited commentary from the Bank of Ghana, but the one we've heard has been from the First Deputy Governor, who says this is not a fluke. They intend to do anything, all they can, to ensure that these gains continue. But Absa Bank is saying that they are still projecting that the Cedi will finish to the dollar, the rate to be 14 cedis. This is their projection, that the Cedi will end the year at 14 cedis to the dollar. That's from Absa. But this is the Bank of Ghana, two statements that they've issued. One is about the Cedi, and it said on 19 July 2025, the Cedi will mark 60 years as Ghana's sole legal tender since its issuance on 19 July 1965 to replace the Ghanaian pound as the sole legal tender in Ghana. The Cedi has remained a strong symbol of Ghana's economic sovereignty and development. To adapt to the changing demands of the Ghanaian economy, the Cedi has evolved through several modifications in form and policy direction over the last 6 years. Ghana's tenacity, innovation, and quest for economic stability are well embodied in the Cedi's reforms, from the first notes and coins to the safe currency we use today. In recognition of this important milestone, the Bank of Ghana intends to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the issue of the Cedi with a series of nationwide activities and engagements between July and December 2025, including official launch events, public exhibitions, educational campaigns, and stakeholder forums. The anniversary offers an opportunity for Ghanaians to reflect on the history of the Cedi, to celebrate the progress made, and to reaffirm our collective responsibility to protect the value and integrity of the Cedi. In addition to being a medium of exchange, the Cedi is a symbol of our pride, heritage, and shared aspirations for a prosperous future. The evolution of the Cedi reflects Ghana's resilience, innovation, and pursuit of a robust economy. Those are portions of that statement. Then there's another statement that was issued by the Bank of Ghana. This one was on what happens, restrictions to the use of the dollar within the economy. This is what the Bank of Ghana says. It says, pursuant to the Bank of Ghana's mandate under the Foreign Exchange Act 2006 at 723 and associated notices, the Bank of Ghana wishes to inform the public as follows. Over-the-counter cash withdrawals in foreign currency from foreign exchange accounts and foreign currency accounts are allowed. For non-FEA and non-FCA account holders, foreign purchases for travel outside Ghana are allowed but capped at $10,000 or its equivalent per person per trip. This must be supported by a valid passport, visa, and confirmed travel ticket as indicated in BOG notice number. The notice dates back to 2014 in September. Checks and checkbooks may continue to be issued on FEA and FCA accounts. The bank has not contemplated reviewing these existing measures. All banks and public are advised to take note and comply accordingly. Of course, I'll read your statements at the conclusion of this very, very first discussion about what you think about this whole discussion about the Cedi performing very well against the major trading currency. Exactly what is in it for you, and then whether that can be sustained. What does that mean? Because we're asking for reduction in prices. Traders are also fighting back, saying that they haven't seen enough to convince them to start reducing prices. Me? Good.
PENDREAM TV now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.